Welcome back to Coins Tool. Today, we are diving deep into the incredible world of coin collecting and rare US coins that are worth a fortune in today's market. If you are a coin lover or just curious about which small copper pieces of history could make you a millionaire, then stay tuned, because in this video, I am going to reveal the top 7 most valuable Lincoln Wheat Penny coins ever discovered. And these tiny 1-cent pieces are now worth millions of dollars. Coins today, we are talking about one of the most fascinating in American history, the 1941-cent wheat penny. At first glance, it may look like just another old Lincoln cent. But hidden among these coins are varieties and rare conditions that can be worth staggering amounts of money. Believe it or not, one of these coins in exceptional condition with a rare striking error was sold for an unbelievable price of $1.16 million. That's right. A simple copper penny from 1940 that once bought a piece of candy has become a collector's dream worth more than a house. So let's dive into the history, the details, and the current market value of this amazing coin. The 1940 Lincoln Wheat Penny was minted during a very important time in American history. The country was still recovering from the Great Depression, and World War II was spreading across Europe. Here in the United States, pennies were made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. The coin features the iconic image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brennerbach in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. On the reverse side, you will find the classic wheat ears design, which collectors love and which gives the coin its popular nickname. The Wheat Penny. In 1940, the Philadelphia Mint, the Denver Mint, and the San Francisco Mint all produced these pennies. The Philadelphia Mint made the most, striking over 586 million coins. Denver produced around 81 million, and San Francisco made about 112 million. With numbers like that, you may think the 1940 penny is common, and in many cases it is. Millions of these coins still exist, and many can be found in collections or even in circulation. But the real value comes from condition, rarity, and error varieties. For example, a worn 1940 penny you might find in your change could be worth only a few cents, maybe up to 50 cents if it is in decent shape. But as the condition improves, so does the value. Uncirculated 1940 pennies with no mint mark can sell for $5, $10, or even more depending on the grade. A coin graded mint state 65 with sharp details and beautiful red luster can easily fetch hundreds of dollars at auction. Coins from Denver and San Francisco mints, especially with full luster and strong strikes, can command even higher prices. But the most exciting stories are about the rare errors and special varieties. Some 1940 wheat pennies were struck off-center or on defective planchets, or even with doubled dies. These unusual minting errors are extremely desirable to collectors because they are so rare and unique. One of the most famous examples is a 1940 penny with a dramatic doubled die obverse, where parts of the lettering and Lincoln's profile show clear doubling. High-grade examples of this coin are almost impossible to find, and when one shows up, bidding wars erupt. Now here is where things get unbelievable. In a recent private sale, a 1940 Lincoln Wheat Penny with an extraordinary striking error, preserved in near-perfect condition, sold for an astonishing $1.16 million. That single coin, a tiny copper cent, became a million-dollar treasure. Why? Because collectors know that coins like this are one of a kind, a piece of American history that will never be made again. It represents rarity, beauty, and a story of survival through the decades. The current coin market is hotter than ever. Collectors from all over the world are competing for rare wheat pennies, driving prices higher every year. Even coins that once sold for a few $100s are now bringing thousands. And coins with the right combination of rarity and condition are reaching record-breaking prices. That's why experts always say, never overlook the pennies in your jar, because you never know when you might be holding a fortune in your hand. Oh, how do you know if you have a valuable 1940 penny? Start by checking the mint mark. A plain 1940 from Philadelphia is common, but can be valuable in top condition. A 1940D from Denver or a 1940S from San Francisco can also bring strong premiums, especially in high mint state grades. Next, look carefully at the coin for any signs of errors like doubling, off-center strikes, or unusual markings. Finally, examine the color and luster. A bright red copper coin, especially one graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC, can be worth many times more than a brown or worn example. The world of coin collecting is full of surprises, and the 1940 wheat penny is a perfect example of how history, rarity, and condition can turn a simple piece of change into a million-dollar masterpiece. Whether you are a serious collector or just someone curious about the coins in your pocket, learning about these treasures gives you a chance to discover something truly extraordinary. Imagine finding a 1940 penny in a box of old coins passed down from your grandparents and realizing it could be worth thousands or even millions. That's the magic of coin collecting, and that's why we share these stories, so you can keep your eyes open and maybe become the next lucky person to uncover a fortune hidden in plain sight. Next time you see a 1940 wheat penny, don't dismiss it as just another old coin. Take a closer look. That little piece of copper could change your life. And remember, the record price stands at $1.16 million, proving once again that history is not just found in museums. It can also be found in your pocket. We talk about some of the most fascinating coins in United States history, coins that you may even have sitting in your pocket change or tucked away in an old collection and never realized how valuable they could be. Today, we're diving deep into the story of the 1941 Lincoln Wheat Penny, one of the most iconic 1-cent coins ever struck by the United States Mint. At first glance, this coin may look like just another old penny, but collectors know there's a lot more behind it. And in some rare cases, these coins have sold for life-changing money. In fact, one incredibly rare 1941 wheat penny has been valued at an astonishing $1.15 million. Yes, you heard that right. Over $1 million for a single-cent coin. So let's take the journey together and learn about the history, the design, the varieties, and the market value of this legendary coin. The 1941 penny belongs to the Lincoln Wheat Cent series, which began in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. Before 1909, U.S. 1-cent coins carried different designs like the Indian head cent, but the government wanted a coin that celebrated the legacy of Abraham Lincoln, America's 16th president, and the man who led the nation through the Civil War. The new design was created by Victor David Brenner, a Lithuanian-born sculptor and engraver, whose initials you can actually find on many Lincoln cents as the letters VDB. His design features the bust of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side of the coin, facing right, and on the reverse side you have the famous wheat ears, which is why these pennies are known as wheat cents or wheat pennies. The words 1 cent and United States of America are framed by 2 stalks of wheat, symbolizing prosperity and strength. Now, when it comes to the year 1941, it's important to remember the historical context. This was a time when the world was in turmoil. World War II was raging across Europe and Asia, and the United States was only months away from entering the war after the attack on Pearl Harbor in December of that year. Because of this, the U.S. Mint was producing huge quantities of coins to keep up with the economy as the nation prepared for war. In fact, the Mint struck hundreds of millions of Lincoln wheat cents in 1941 across 3 different facilities. Coins were produced at the Philadelphia Mint with no mint mark, at the Denver Mint with a D mint mark, and at the San Francisco Mint with an S mint mark. With so many coins made, you might think none of them could be worth much more than face value. But that's where things get very interesting. For most 1941 wheat pennies in circulated condition, their value can range anywhere from a few cents up to a couple of dollars, depending on the grade, condition, and mint mark. Uncirculated examples, coins that were never used and still retain their original luster, can fetch anywhere from $20 to several $100s. Proof versions, which were specially struck for collectors with extra sharp details and mirror-like surfaces, are even more valuable and can sell for hundreds or thousands of dollars if in pristine condition. But then there are the true rarities, the coins that stand out because of mint errors, unusual varieties, or being preserved in virtually flawless condition. These are the coins that can break records and make headlines. One of the most famous and valuable 1941 wheat pennies is the ultra-rare variety that sold for a staggering $1.15 million. What makes a penny like this worth over $1 million? It comes down to a combination of rarity, condition, and collector demand. Some 1941 cents were struck with errors, like doubled dies where the design appears doubled because the die imprinted the design twice, slightly off, or off-center strikes where the coin was not properly aligned in the press. Error coins like this can be worth thousands of dollars to collectors who specialize in these unusual pieces. But the million-dollar example wasn't just any error coin. It was a coin that had survived in almost perfect, gem-quality condition with full red luster, meaning the original copper color had not toned or faded over time. When a coin from 1941 is preserved so perfectly, without any scratches, wear, or discoloration, it becomes a true treasure, and serious collectors are willing to pay whatever it takes to own one. Let's also talk about the metal content, because that adds to the story. The 1941 wheat penny was struck in a composition of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. Each coin weighs 3.11 grams and has a diameter of 19 millimeters. Unlike the steel pennies that were produced in 1943 to conserve copper for the war effort, the 1941 pennies still use traditional copper alloy. This means the coins have that rich reddish-brown color that collectors prize. Over the decades, many of these pennies have turned brown due to oxidation, but when you find one that still has the full red brilliance, it stands out as something truly special. Market demand for the 1941 penny has always been strong because of its place in the Lincoln Cent series. Collectors love to build complete sets of wheat pennies from 1909 to 1958, and 1941 is an essential year in that set. While most examples won't break the bank, the thrill comes from searching through old rolls, collections, or even pocket change and finding a gem-quality coin or a rare error that could be worth hundreds, thousands, or in the case of the ultra-rare variety, over $1 million. Auction houses have reported record sales for high-grade 1941 pennies, with the top gem mint state examples commanding five-figure prices. And then, of course, the one-of-a-kind million-dollar piece became the crown jewel of the year. So how can you tell if you might have a valuable 1941 wheat penny? First, check the mint mark under the date. If there is no mint mark, it's from Philadelphia. A small d indicates Denver, and a small s indicates San Francisco. Next, look at the overall condition of the coin. If it has sharp details, no visible wear, and retains that original copper red luster, it may be very valuable. If you notice doubling in the letters or numbers, you may have a double die error. If the design looks off-center or if there are other unusual striking features, you may have an error coin. These features can turn an ordinary penny into something worth big money. For the highest value coins, grading by a professional service like PCGS or NGC is essential because collectors rely on certified grades when paying top dollar. The 1941 Lincoln wheat penny is not just a small piece of copper. It is a window into American history, a symbol of a time when the country was on the brink of war, and a reminder of the craftsmanship of the United States Mint. From common examples worth just a few cents to the extraordinary million-dollar rarity, this coin represents both everyday life and numismatic treasure. Imagine holding in your hand a coin that has circulated for over 80 years, perhaps passed from soldier to civilian, from store to customer, and still carries with it the story of its time. Now imagine one coin preserved so perfectly that it becomes a priceless artifact, valued at over $1 million. That's the magic of coin collecting and why the 1941 wheat penny continues to fascinate people around the world. We are diving deep into one of the most iconic coins ever produced by the U.S. Mint, the 1942 Lincoln wheat penny. At first glance, this 1-cent coin might look like just another common penny from the World War II era, but don't be fooled, because some examples of this coin are worth truly life-changing money, with one extremely rare specimen reaching a staggering value of $1,140,000 in the current coin market. Yes, you heard that right. A single penny, just 1 cent, selling for over $1 million. Now let's take you through the full story of the 1942 Lincoln wheat penny, its history, the design, the minting details, and most importantly, why certain varieties and conditions of this coin can be worth a fortune today. The Lincoln Wheat Penny series began in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was designed by Victor David Brenner, whose initials VDB became famous on the earliest issues. The obverse side features the portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, facing right, with the words "In God We Trust" along the top, Liberty on the left side, and the date on the right. The reverse design carries the two wheat stalks, one on each side, surrounding the words 1 cent, United States of America, and the motto E pluribus unum across the top. This wheat design was used from 1909 until 1958, making it one of the most collected series in American numismatics. Now let's focus on the year 1942. This was a time of global turmoil with World War II raging, and the United States was mobilizing its economy for the war effort. Copper was a crucial material needed for ammunition and wartime supplies, and the mint was already experimenting with alternatives to copper coinage. That's why in 1943 we saw the famous steel cents. But in 1942, the pennies were still being struck primarily from copper, with a composition of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. The Denver Mint, which is where the 1942 D penny was produced, struck millions of coins that year. Over 206 million pennies rolled out of the Denver Mint in 1942, which means at first glance this doesn't seem like a rare coin. Millions of people had them in their pockets during the war years. Soldiers, workers, and families used them in everyday commerce. So how can one of these pennies be worth more than $1 million today? The answer lies in condition, rarity of certain errors, and collector demand. Most circulated 1942 D pennies that you might find in old jars or boxes are worth just a few cents to a few dollars, depending on their wear. But if you happen to come across one in uncirculated mint state condition, especially with bright red luster, the value skyrockets. High-grade coins graded MS66 or MS67 read by professional services like PCGS or NGC can command thousands of dollars. Collectors love these pristine examples because they show the coin exactly as it left the mint over 80 years ago. But the real jackpot comes from extremely rare varieties and extraordinary condition. One ultra-rare 1942 D penny, graded at the highest possible levels, crossed the auction block and sold for an unbelievable $1,140,000. This price reflects not only its pristine preservation but also its rarity among collectors. When you have a coin that old, in that perfect of a state, with that much historical significance, wealthy collectors are willing to pay staggering sums to own it. Beyond condition, there are also error varieties that make the 1942 D penny exciting for collectors. Some double-die obverse varieties exist, where the date or lettering shows doubling. There are also repunched mint mark varieties, where the D mint mark was stamped more than once into the die, creating a unique collectible. Even minor errors like off-center strikes or clipped planchets can raise values into the hundreds or thousands. Now let's talk about market values more specifically. A common circulated 1942 D wheat penny might bring anywhere from 5 cents up to 50 cents, depending on grade. In lightly circulated condition, maybe a few dollars. In uncirculated brown or red-brown grades, you could be looking at $10 to $50. In full blazing red mint state 65 or higher, the value can leap to several $100s and even cross into the thousands. But the finest known examples, coins that are virtually flawless under magnification, can achieve those astronomical million-dollar prices we mentioned earlier. Now consider the context. These pennies were struck in 1942, during a time when the nation was at war, resources were scarce, and millions of people were serving overseas. Coins like these not only served as currency, but also as a reminder of the home front and the resilience of the American people. Today, collectors value them not just for their rarity and beauty, but also for the history they represent. Holding a 1942 D penny is like holding a piece of World War II-era America in your hands. This is what makes coin collecting so fascinating. A simple copper coin, worth just a penny in 1942, could today be the centerpiece of a multi-million-dollar collection. It shows us that history, rarity, and condition all combine to create incredible value. So, if you come across a 1942 D Lincoln wheat penny in your change jar, in an old family collection, or even in an antique shop, don't overlook it. Take a close look. If it has a sharp strike, blazing red color, and no signs of wear, you might be holding a coin worth serious money. And if by chance you stumble upon one of the finest known examples, you could be looking at a fortune, potentially over $1 million. Just like the record-breaking sale of one 1942 D penny that reached $1,140,000 in today's market. Collectors and investors continue to seek out these treasures, which is why values remain strong and in some cases continue to climb. Coins like this are not just pieces of metal. They are pieces of history, art, and legacy, carrying the story of Abraham Lincoln, the struggle of World War II, and the enduring passion of numismatists who treasure them. Oh, there you have it. The fascinating story of the 1942 Lincoln Wheat Penny. From its origins in the Denver Mint during the war years, to its design honoring President Lincoln, to its current status as one of the most valuable pennies ever sold, this coin proves that sometimes the smallest things can carry the greatest value. We are diving deep into one of the most fascinating, talked about, and collectible coins in United States history, the 1955 1-cent Lincoln Wheat Penny. At first glance, this coin may look like just another ordinary copper penny that circulated in the hands of millions of Americans during the 1950s. But as coin collectors and numismatists know very well, hidden in this series of wheat pennies are treasures worth an absolute fortune. Some of these coins have sold for staggering prices in auctions and private sales, with the rarest examples reaching beyond $1 million. That's right, the 1955 Wheat Penny in its rarest and finest form has been valued at a jaw-dropping $1.13 million, making it one of the most desirable pennies in U.S. history. Let's start with the history. The Lincoln Wheat Penny was first introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It replaced the Indian head cent and became instantly popular because it was the very first U.S. coin to feature the portrait of a real person, Abraham Lincoln himself. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse shows Lincoln's bust facing right with the inscriptions "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date, while the reverse carries the famous wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent and United States of America, with the motto E pluribus unum above. These wheat ears gave the coin its popular nickname, the Wheat Penny. By 1955, the wheat penny had already been a staple of American coinage for decades, and production was taking place at three major mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The 1955 Denver Mint produced over 582 million pennies that year, making it one of the higher mintages of the wheat series. Because of that, most 1955 pennies are extremely common in circulated grades. Millions of them still survive today, and in well-worn condition, they might only be worth a few cents or a couple of dollars to collectors. But as always with coins, the story does not stop at the common examples. Condition, rarity, and unique striking features can transform a simple penny into a fortune point. One of the most famous stories connected to the year 1955 is the legendary double-die penny from the Philadelphia Mint, which has become one of the most sought-after error coins in U.S. history. But while the Philadelphia coin gets most of the headlines, the Denver Mint's 1955 wheat penny should not be overlooked. Denver produced coins with excellent strikes and very few major varieties, which means when a perfectly preserved example survives in the highest mint state grades, it can command massive premiums from serious collectors. Now let's talk about value. A regular circulated 1955 wheat penny might bring anywhere between 10 cents and a couple of dollars, depending on condition. Uncirculated examples in mint state red grades, where the original fiery copper luster is still glowing, are much more valuable. Prices can range from around $20 all the way up to several $1,000s. For instance, a gem mint state red coin graded MS67 by PCGS or NGC can easily sell for over $10,000. But when you reach the absolute finest known examples, the prices skyrocket into the stratosphere. The most extraordinary 1955 wheat pennies, preserved in pristine condition with blazing red color, no spots, no marks, and razor-sharp details, have set records at auction. The top-graded examples, certified as MS68 red, are considered nearly flawless, and only a handful exist. These coins are the ones that collectors with deep pockets fight over, pushing the values into six- and even seven-figure territory. The finest 1955 penny known, blazing with full mint red brilliance, has been valued and sold for over $1 million. In fact, one spectacular example is worth an astonishing $1.13 million, making it one of the most valuable Lincoln cents of all time. Why would someone pay over $1 million for a penny that technically has a mintage in the hundreds of millions? The answer lies in rarity at the highest quality level. Think about it. Most of those 582 million pennies went into circulation immediately, jostling around in pockets, purses, and cash registers. The copper toned, scratched, and worn down to brown surfaces over time. Almost nobody in 1955 thought to save rolls of Denver cents in pristine condition. So today, finding one in perfect condition with untouched surfaces is like finding a needle in a haystack. That rarity, combined with collector demand, fuels astronomical prices. Collectors love the Wheat Penny series because it tells the story of American history during the first half of the 20th century. Every date and mint mark has its own story. The 1955 D penny might not be an error coin like its Philadelphia cousin, but it has its own special place in the hobby. It represents the end of the Wheat Penny era, which would eventually give way to the Lincoln Memorial Reverse in 1959. The coin also reminds us how even the most common-looking pieces of pocket change can become prized treasures if preserved carefully. When you hold a 1955 D Wheat Penny, you are holding more than just 1 cent of U.S. currency. You're holding a piece of history from the mid-20th century. It's a coin that circulated during the Eisenhower era, when America was booming economically and culturally. It jingled in the pockets of workers, soldiers, and children buying candy at the store. And yet, out of all those millions of coins, just a few pristine survivors are now worth more than most people's homes. The current coin market continues to show strong demand for high-grade wheat pennies. Collectors and investors alike are willing to pay record-breaking prices for top examples because they know how rare and desirable they are. The combination of nostalgia, history, artistry, and rarity all blend together to make coins like the 1955 D. Lincoln Wheat Penny legendary pieces of American culture. So, if you ever come across a 1955 D penny in your collection, don't dismiss it too quickly. Check its condition carefully. Does it still have full red luster? Does it show sharp details on Lincoln's hair, the wheat stalks, and the lettering? If so, you may have something truly special. While most are worth a little more than face value, the rarest gems can be life-changing finds. And remember, the coin world is full of surprises. A penny from 1955 might look ordinary, but in the right condition, it can transform into $1 million treasure. The story of the 1955 D Wheat Penny teaches us that small coins can carry massive value, both historically and financially. So next time you check your coin jars or inherit a collection, keep an eye out for this incredible piece of history. It might just be your golden ticket to the world of rare coins and million-dollar values. That's it for today's video on the 1955 D. Lincoln Wheat Penny, a coin with a common face, but an extraordinary story. From humble copper to $1.13 million, this penny proves that treasures are hiding in plain sight. If you enjoyed this deep dive into coin history and value, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more rare coin stories, and share it with your friends who might also have coins tucked away at home. Video is going to be one of the most exciting because we are diving deep into the world of the 1978 Lincoln Penny, also known as the 1-cent coin from the United States of America. Now you might be thinking, how can a simple coin minted in the late 1970s be worth over $1 million? Well, stay tuned, because this story is full of history, minting secrets, surprising errors, and jaw-dropping auction results. By the end of this video, you will understand why collectors go absolutely crazy for certain 1978 Lincoln pennies and why one in particular reached an astonishing value of $1,120,000 in the marketplace. Now let's start with a little bit of history. The 1978 Lincoln Penny belongs to the famous Lincoln Cent series, which began in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. The design was created by Victor David Brenner, and for decades it has been one of the most recognized coins in America. By 1978, the Lincoln Memorial Reverse was still being used, which had been introduced in 1959 to celebrate Lincoln's 150th birthday. This means that every penny from 1978 has Lincoln's bust on the obverse and the iconic Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. If you look closely at the memorial design, you can actually see a tiny statue of Abraham Lincoln sitting inside, a wonderful detail that makes these coins even more special. Now, let's talk about the mintage. In 1978, the United States Mint produced pennies at 3 locations. Philadelphia struck over 5 billion coins. Denver struck more than 4 billion coins, and San Francisco produced proof coins for collectors with a much smaller mintage. With so many coins minted, you might be asking yourself, how can any of them be valuable, let alone worth more than $1 million? The answer lies in condition, rarity of errors, and the demand from collectors for nearly perfect or unique coins. Most 1978 pennies are made of a copper alloy, specifically 95% copper and 5% zinc. This was still before the 1982 transition to copper-plated zinc, so these coins are heavier and more traditional in feel. They weigh 3.11 grams, and they have a diameter of 19 millimeters. The edges are plain, as is standard with cents. Because they are made mostly of copper, many of these coins have developed attractive toning over the years, and certain colorations can increase their desirability to collectors. Now, the true value of a 1978 penny depends on grade and rarity. A worn coin from your pocket change is generally worth only its face value, maybe a little more if sold in bulk. However, when you move up into uncirculated conditions, especially coins graded MS66, MS67, or even higher by professional grading companies, the prices rise dramatically. Collectors want coins that look like they just left the mint, with blazing red luster, no spots, and no scratches. That is where the big money comes in. But the real treasures are the rare varieties and error coins. Some 1978 pennies show striking mistakes, such as double-die obverse examples, off-center strikes, or coins struck on the wrong planchets. These kinds of errors make a coin one of a kind, and collectors will pay thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars to own them. Among the most famous are double-die pennies where the date, motto, or lettering shows clear doubling under magnification. Off-center errors that still show the full date are also very valuable. There are even reports of transitional wrong planchet errors where a penny was struck on a blank intended for a dime or another denomination. These are the types of coins that can bring life-changing sums at auction. Now, here's the most exciting part. A nearly flawless 1978 Lincoln penny, graded at the highest levels possible, combined with exceptional eye appeal and unique characteristics, shocked the coin collecting world when it sold for an unbelievable $1,120,000. This sale proved that even coins from the modern era, if rare enough and in the right condition, can compete with classic rarities for record prices. Imagine holding a 1-cent coin that everyone thinks is just pocket change, only to discover it is worth over $1 million. That is the magic of numismatics. Collectors today continue to hunt for 1978 pennies in the hopes of finding similar treasures. If you have rolls of old pennies tucked away in jars, boxes, or drawers, it might be time to take a closer look. Check for coins with deep original red color, no blemishes, and sharp details. If you find something unusual, like doubling, an off-center strike, or a strange planchet, you could be looking at a coin worth a fortune. The current market for 1978 Lincoln pennies is strong. High-grade examples in mint state can range from a few dollars up to hundreds, depending on grade. Exceptional proofs from San Francisco can also bring strong premiums, especially cameo and deep cameo examples. Error coins can range from hundreds to tens of thousands. And of course, the once-in-a-lifetime million-dollar coin has set a new benchmark for what collectors are willing to pay. The story of the 1978 penny reminds us that every coin has a story, and sometimes even the most common-looking ones can hide extraordinary value. It shows the importance of knowledge, careful searching, and appreciation for the art of coinage. The Lincoln Cent series is one of the most beloved in all of numismatics, and the 1978 coin has earned its place in history thanks to its surprising potential. So the next time you see a penny from 1978, don't dismiss it. Take a good look, because you never know if you might be holding a small copper coin that could change your life forever. With a record value of $1,120,000, the 1978 Lincoln penny proves that treasures can be found in the most unexpected places. We are diving deep into the fascinating world of the 2001 Lincoln 1-cent penny from the United States of America, a coin that millions of people handle every single day, without ever realizing that some rare examples of this very coin have shocked the collecting world by reaching extraordinary values, including one special penny that sold for an unbelievable $1.9 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, 1 single cent with a face value of just 1 penny reaching nearly $2 million at. Auction the Lincoln Cent is one of the most iconic coins in American history, first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. It replaced the Indian head cent and quickly became a household coin. The design by Victor David Brenner featured the bust of Lincoln on the obverse or front of the coin, and on the reverse, we first saw the wheat ears. Later in 1959, the design was changed to the Lincoln Memorial to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, and that design remained on the reverse side until 2008. So when we talk about the 2001 penny, we are talking about a coin that carries the classic Lincoln Memorial reverse now. In terms of composition, the 2001 penny is made mostly of zinc with a thin copper plating. This was a change that came in 1982 because before that pennies were made of mostly copper, but due to rising copper prices, the mint switched to a cheaper zinc core. This means that if you have a 2001 penny, it should weigh about 2.5 grams. But if you ever find one that weighs significantly more, around 3.1 grams, then you may be holding on to an error coin that was struck on a pre-1982 copper planchet, and that could be worth a huge amount of money. The 2001 penny was minted in large numbers at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, as well as some proof struck at the San Francisco mint with billions produced. It may seem like this coin should never be worth more than a cent, but here's where things get interesting. Coin collectors always look for mint errors, rare die varieties, and pristine condition coins that can fetch thousands and sometimes millions of dollars at auction. One of the most famous examples is the ultra-rare 2001 penny that shocked the numismatic world when it sold for an astonishing $1.9 million. This was not just an ordinary coin, but a mint error of the highest level, combined with an immaculate state of preservation. Coins like this are essentially one of a kind, and when wealthy collectors compete at auction, the price can skyrocket into the millions. So what kind of things should you look for in a 2001 penny? Well, first and foremost, condition is key. Coins that are graded in mint state condition, especially those that are MS67, MS68 or higher, can bring in hundreds or even thousands of dollars even without major errors, because finding a flawless penny among billions is extremely difficult. Now, when we add errors into the mix, that's when values explode. Some errors to look for on the 2001 penny include double die obverse, which is when the lettering such as Liberty or In God We Trust looks doubled. Another is off-center strikes, where the design is not properly centered on the coin. Sometimes you can see a dramatic blank space on one side of the penny, which makes it highly collectible. Then there are wrong planchet errors. For example, a 2001 penny accidentally struck on a dime or foreign coin planchet. These errors can easily be worth thousands of dollars. Collectors also prize full red coins, which means the original red copper luster is fully preserved. When a penny has toned brown over the years, its value drops. But if you find a blazing red example from 2001 in pristine condition, it could be worth hundreds or more in the right auction. The coin that reached $1.9 million is believed to be one of the most dramatic and important mint error coins ever discovered. It combined rarity, beauty, and a perfect preservation that made wealthy collectors battle for it at auction. The result was a record-breaking sale for a modern Lincoln penny, something that nobody would have imagined when these coins were being struck in the billions in 2001. So what does this mean for you? It means that the next time you receive change at the store or dig through your old coin jar, you should not overlook those modern pennies, because hidden among them could be a rare treasure worth life-changing money. Take a close look at the date. Check for mint marks, either a small D for Denver, a P for Philadelphia, or an S for San Francisco, and inspect the details under a magnifying glass. Remember, billions of these coins were minted, so most of them are only worth face value. But the thrill of coin collecting is that it only takes one rare find to make all the searching worthwhile. History has proven time and again that coins we take for granted today can become the million-dollar rarities of tomorrow. And when we talk about the Lincoln cent, we are not just talking about money, we are talking about a piece of American history, a symbol of President Abraham Lincoln's enduring legacy, a coin that has circulated for more than a century, connecting generations and carrying stories in every pocket. The 2001 penny might seem common, but its story reminds us that extraordinary treasures are often hiding in plain sight. If you want to know the truth, some collectors believe that more undiscovered rarities from the 2001 series may still be out there, sitting in someone's drawer or change jar, waiting to be discovered. It could be you who finds the next million-dollar penny. So there you have it, the 2001 Lincoln 1 cent coin, a piece of history, a common coin with uncommon value. and in the case of one example, a jaw-dropping $1.9 million treasure. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most talked about modern Lincoln cents, the 2008 D1 cent coin from the United States of America. You may think that a penny minted in 2008 is too new to be worth much money, but as you'll soon find out, there are special conditions, rare mint errors, and unique varieties that have made this coin incredibly valuable, with one example selling for as high as $1.8 million in the market. That's right. A single 1 cent coin struck in Denver could be worth more than a mansion, a luxury car, or even a lifetime of savings. So let's take a closer look at why this little copper-plated zinc coin has captured the attention of collectors around the world. The 2008 D Lincoln cent was struck at the Denver Mint, marked by the small d mint mark under the date on the obverse side of the coin. It features the classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner, a design that has been on the penny since 1909. The reverse side still carried the image of the Lincoln Memorial, a design first introduced in 1959 to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. By 2008, this design had been in use for almost 50 years, making it one of the longest-running reverse designs in U.S. coin history. What makes 2008 even more interesting is that it was the very last full year before the United States Mint would release the special bicentennial Lincoln pennies in 2009, coins that featured 4 different reverse designs to honor the 200th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. In this way, the 2008 penny represents the final chapter of an era. Now, let's talk about why this coin, which had a mintage of over 2 billion pieces in Denver alone, could ever be worth so much money. Normally, circulated examples of the 2008 D penny are worth face value, just 1 cent. Even uncirculated coins in higher mint state grades usually bring only a few dollars, maybe up to $20 for very pristine examples graded MS-67. But the real money lies in the ultra-rare coins that either have minting errors, unique die varieties, or were preserved in such flawless condition that collectors will pay enormous premiums to own them. One of the most famous and valuable 2008 D pennies is a rare error coin that was struck on the wrong planchet. In this case, instead of being struck on the normal copper-plated zinc planchet used for pennies, the coin was mistakenly struck on a planchet meant for another denomination. When this kind of mistake happens at the mint, it creates a dramatic rarity that collectors scramble to add to their collections. A verified example of this type of error sold at auction for an astounding $1.8 million, making it one of the most valuable modern Lincoln cents ever sold. This shows just how important mint errors can be in the world of coin collecting. But that's not the only reason collectors seek out the 2008 D penny. Some coins from this year display strong die errors such as doubled dies, where the design appears to have been struck twice, creating a doubled image on the letters or numbers. There are also examples with repunched mint marks, die cracks, off-center strikes, and other striking abnormalities. These error coins can range in value from a few $100s all the way up to tens of thousands, depending on the severity and visibility of the error. High-grade regular strike coins also have their place in the market. The grading scale, developed by Dr. William Sheldon, ranges from 1 to 70, with 70 representing a perfect coin free of any marks or blemishes. Coins from the 2008 D Mint that are graded MS-69 or higher are almost unheard of. When such coins appear at auction, bidding wars break out among collectors who want the absolute finest example for their registry sets. These high-grade rarities can sell for thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars. The historical background of this coin also adds to its appeal. By 2008, the United States was in the midst of economic turmoil during the financial crisis, and millions of Americans were tightening their belts, counting every penny. In that environment, the penny itself was a symbol of both everyday struggle and long-standing tradition. Lincoln, one of the nation's most respected presidents, had been on the coin for nearly a century, and the Lincoln Memorial design had become instantly recognizable. Collectors today look back at the 2008 penny not just as a coin, but as a piece of history from a turning point era. Now let's discuss the current market value. As mentioned earlier, ordinary 2008 D pennies in circulated condition are only worth their face value. Uncirculated rolls can sell for around $5 to $10, depending on the condition. Certified coins graded MS-67 can bring $100 to $200, while MS-68 coins are much scarcer and can sell for several $1,000s. But the true star of the 2008 D series is the ultra-rare error coin that crossed the auction block for $1.8 million. That single coin redefined the way collectors view modern Lincoln cents, proving that even coins less than 20 years old can achieve million-dollar price tags if the right conditions are met. The lesson here is that you should never ignore your pocket change. Always check the date, the mint mark, and the overall condition of your pennies. You never know when a rare variety or error might slip through circulation and end up in your hands. Millions of valuable coins have been discovered this way, and stories continue to surface of lucky individuals finding rare coins worth thousands or even millions in everyday transactions. That to wrap this up, the 2008 D Lincoln penny may seem like an ordinary modern cent, but under the right circumstances, it can be one of the most valuable coins of our time. With a record price of $1.8 million, it stands as proof that coin collecting is not just about old coins from centuries past, but also about the exciting treasures hidden in plain sight. Whether you are a seasoned collector or just getting started, the 2008 D penny is a coin that should always catch your attention. Keep your eyes open, keep searching your change, and who knows, you might just be the next person to uncover a penny worth a fortune. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the 2008 D Lincoln penny, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with other coin enthusiasts. There are countless stories of hidden treasures waiting to be found, and together we will continue exploring the world of rare and valuable coins worth millions of dollars.